Today, we're going to dissect a nightclub that has a history so brutal, it's even inspired hit songs. From tales of murder, satanic cults and suicide, it's no wonder that many people feel a chill slide down their spines as they dance and drink the night away. Even this year, there have been acts of violence carried out on the grounds with 3 people shot. So let's uncover Bobby Mackey's music world and the sinister history that has many believing ghosts can never leave once they're trapped inside these walls. It all started back in the year 1850 when a slaughterhouse and meatpacking plant was built. In the lowest area of the building, there was a well that was used for the disposal of blood and other waste. I know, pretty gross, but nasty stuff has to be disposed of somewhere. Sometime in the 1890s, the slaughterhouse was shut down. But due to the history of gore attached to the building, some say that satanic cults started meeting around the well. Here, they would sacrifice animals and many believe humans too. Now in 1896, a 22-year-old small-town girl named Pearl Bryan met a very nasty end. She got pregnant by her boyfriend Scott Jackson, who had been a student at Ohio College of Dental Surgery. When he discovered the news, he was mortified. He didn't want to be held back with a wife and baby at home, so with the help of his friend and roommate Alonzo Walling, he encouraged her to visit them in Cincinnati to get an abortion. The thing is, this was not done by a doctor. This was carried out by Scott and Alonzo. Needless to say, shit went wrong, and the poor girl died. As you can imagine, the men panicked. They dragged her body to a field which was less than 2 miles from the slaughterhouse and cut her head off in the hopes that no one would recognise her. But they messed up, as they left her shoes on, which were recognised by those who knew her. Some also believe that her boyfriend had ties to the satanic cult and that it is possible that her head, which was never recovered, was used in one of their ceremonies. I truly hope that this isn't the case. She never deserved to die like that, and so to be disrespected in death too is just unthinkable. Both men were sent to the gallows for the crime, but not before Alonzo swore to the crowd watching his execution that he would haunt the area forever. Pearl's spirit is said to still be felt by many and seen as a headless ghost in turn-of-the-century clothing. She's even been identified by old photographs by those who've witnessed seeing her. In the early part of the 20th century, the slaughterhouse was demolished. Nothing much seemed to happen with the land until the 1920s when a new building was constructed and used successfully as a casino, nightclub and speakeasy during Prohibition. At the end of this era though, a new owner came along called E.A. Buck Brady, and he called the night spot Primrose. This club was thriving, but like anything, success was a much sought after commodity, and there were certain types who didn't like to see people succeed without their cut of the action. There are reports that state the business caught the attention of Cincinnati mobsters. Now Brady had been doing just fine on his own and refused to sell his business. Sadly, the mobsters retaliated with violence and threats to staff and customers. It became too much for Brady and he pulled a gun on a mobster named Albert Red Masterson, resulting in the loss of his business when he was charged with attempted murder. Brady is said to still haunt his old grounds, with many even recognising his ghost from old pictures of him. It seems that his love for the club lingered on into the afterlife. Along came the 1950s and a fresh start for the building, this time dressed up as a nightclub called the Latin Quarter. Here there was music and showgirls to entertain you. One such dancer was called Joanna, and she was the daughter of the club owner and became entangled in a love story that sadly ended in tragedy. Joanna fell in love with a band member called Robert Randall, and together they decided to run away as she became pregnant and their relationship was not approved of by her father. It's believed that with his criminal connections, the club owner had Robert killed to put an end to their affair. Joanna was left heartbroken, pregnant and alone. The anger built up inside her so much that she poisoned her father and then took her own life in the basement of the building. The nightclub finally shut down in 1978 after a series of fatal shootings which brought about bad publicity and the watchful eye of the local authorities. But it didn't stay shut for long. During the same year, Bobby Mackey, a young country singer, decided to purchase the building and make it into the business that still stands today. Now, even though Bobby himself claims that he's open-minded to the idea of ghosts and other paranormal entities, he's not experienced much himself. This has not stopped him, though, from finding inspiration from the many tales that have happened over the years. Some of his hits include Joanna, Hellfire and Brimstone, and Poor Pearl, poor girl. So let's dissect the club one area at a time. Many of Bobby's family, employees, customers and police officers have experienced some crazy things over the years. Clergy and psychics have tried to cleanse the building but still feel a strong darkness lingering. Could this be due to the northern current of the Licking River, as many say that spirits can't cross flowing water and so become trapped on the grounds? What do you guys think? Do you feel that this might be plausible? After the slaughterhouse and suicide in the basement, many believe the building attracts evil and horror. It's said to be the gateway to hell, with the stairs near the old well from the slaughterhouse nicknamed the stairs that lead to nowhere. Many have heard heavy footsteps walking up or down the staircase, but no one's there. Bobby's wife refuses to set foot in the club after her own terrifying experiences. She said that she became overwhelmed by the strong scent of roses in the basement and was also picked up and thrown across the room. Now, worth noting here is that Joanna, our victim of forbidden love, was known for wearing rose-scented perfume. But it doesn't end there, as she was also grabbed around the waist and pushed down the stairs by a man matching the description of Alonzo Walling. He was said to be screaming at her, "Get out! Get out!" To be fair, he did say he would never leave, and it seems he's kept his word. One employee has experienced a female spirit who actually called herself Joanna, leaving her familiar scent in her wake. But behind the bar, a dark, angry man is said to make himself known too, while others in this area felt a friendly cat rubbing up on their legs. The club manager has had pranks played on her too. Every evening she would make sure to lock up and turn off devices. But when entering the building a few hours later, the front doors would be unlocked, the bar lights would be on, and the jukebox playing the anniversary waltz, even though it was unplugged. One customer was shocked to suddenly feel an overwhelming heat, as well as a trash can that was thrown at him. He described a man with a handlebar moustache repeating "die game," which in Latin means dying well, dying good, as he visited the men's room. I can imagine he didn't have much trouble going after that scary experience. Others, though, have also heard male conversations taking place and shadowy figures in the area that used to be the men's restroom. Around the stage, a female voice is heard humming or singing, along with blue orbs floating on the dance floor. Could this be Joanna again? It really does seem that her spirit is very active and not afraid to make herself known. At one time, a former caretaker of the building claimed that he'd become demonically possessed by spirits and the exorcism was performed by a minister in the club. Now surely, this sort of act should have been carried out somewhere more private and not in a highly populated place like a club. If the entity left the man, it would have had many other bodies to choose from, surely. There is an area of the club that women have complained about being touched and groped inappropriately. Now, it's bad enough receiving unwanted attention from the living, but the dead too? Seems a bit too much to handle. While enjoying a game of pool, people have witnessed seeing a man clearly being there 1 minute and then gone the next. There are so many different stories about people's experiences. It's quite alarming, with other hotspots being the spotlight room, the catwalk over the stage, the platform near the kitchen and the old china room. People have also claimed to see the face of a ghost in a large pitted mirror in the main area of the club. Today, business is still thriving for Bobby McKee's music world, but trouble never seems to be far away. The Northern Kentucky Police were called out to the club in the early morning of March 27th, 2022, after they received a call around 1 a.m. about shots being fired. On the scene, they found 3 people with non-life-threatening injuries who were transported to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. Chief Martin spoke of the incident, saying, "We don't think there's any threat to the public and think everybody that is involved we've been able to identify at this point." It does beg the question, though, of whether the fight that broke out in the parking lot just after 12:15 a.m. had been influenced by too much alcohol or negative spirits that even in death are still angry with the world and those living in it. Tell me what you think in the comments below and stay safe out there, dissectors, as you never know what's going on around you, seen and unseen.